I was just coming back from work. The evening air was crisp, and a faint fog had settled over the streets, curling around the streetlights like smoke. Most of the shops were closed, and only a few streetlights flickered, casting long shadows across the pavement. It was the kind of night where everything feels a little quieter than usual, almost unnatural. As I walked down my usual route, I noticed a woman up ahead. She looked older, maybe in her late 60s. She moved slowly, shuffling her feet as she carried a small, dark bundle in her arms. Something about the way she held it made me pause. But at first, I couldn't tell why. I don't usually greet strangers, especially at night. But for some reason, something made me speak. Maybe it was curiosity. Or maybe I just wanted to be polite. I slowed down and said, "Good evening, ma'am. How are you tonight?" She looked up, her face pale under the dim glow of the streetlight. Her smile was thin, almost fragile, but it didn't reach her eyes. She nodded slowly and said, "I'm fine." Her voice was soft, raspy, like the kind of voice that comes from whispering for too long. I smiled politely, started to pass her, and that's when I noticed the bundle she was carrying. It wasn't just a bag. It was wrapped in a dark, heavy cloth. My curiosity made me glance closer, and I felt an inexplicable chill. I couldn't see exactly what it was, but the shape inside was odd, unnervingly stiff. I told myself I was overreacting. Maybe it was groceries or something mundane. I kept walking. But then I felt it. Footsteps behind me. Slow, deliberate. I glanced over my shoulder, and she was following me. Not immediately behind me, but far enough to make my skin crawl. I quickened my pace. So did she. I stopped at a street corner. She stopped too. My heart raced. Something didn't feel right. Her pace was too synchronized with mine. Her presence too deliberate. I could almost feel her watching me from behind, even though I couldn't see her face clearly in the fog. I tried to calm myself, thinking maybe she was just heading in the same direction. "It's cold tonight," I said aloud, hoping my voice would break the tension. She tilted her head slowly, her eyes fixed on me, and then she whispered something, low, almost like a chant. I couldn't understand it, but it sent a shiver down my spine. It wasn't words I knew, just sounds that felt wrong, unnatural. I broke into a jog. My backpack bounced against my shoulder as I ran. She didn't run. She didn't need to. She moved silently, gliding forward almost, her feet making no sound I could hear over my own frantic pace. My apartment was just a block away, but it felt miles from me. Every shadow along the street seemed to stretch, reaching out toward me. Every flickering streetlight made her figure seem closer than she was. I reached my building and fumbled with my keys. My hands were shaking. I glanced back, and for a split second, I thought I saw her standing under the street lamp, watching me. But when I blinked, she was gone. I slammed the door behind me and locked it. I leaned against it, my chest heaving. I tried to convince myself it was over, that she had just passed by and continued her way. But something in the pit of my stomach told me otherwise. Hours later, as I lay in bed, I heard it, soft tapping on my window. A long, deliberate pause, then a single tap again. My room was on the second floor. No one should have been there. My hands trembled as I pulled the blanket closer. I couldn't sleep. Every sound outside, the rustle of leaves, the distant hum of a car, even the creak of my own floorboards felt like her. By morning, I was exhausted, paranoid, and shaken to my core. I never went out that route again at night. I never greet strangers at night. That one simple wave, that polite good evening, became something I would regret for the rest of my life. Because sometimes a stranger's smile hides something you cannot see, and a simple greeting can be the start of a nightmare you never escape. I was leaving work late that night, around 10:30 p.m. The mall was almost completely silent, too silent. Most shops were closed, metal shutters pulled halfway down, with only the soft buzzing of fluorescent lights echoing above me. The shine on the tiles, usually comforting during busy hours, now looked cold and lifeless. Every step I took felt louder than it should, bouncing off the empty corridors. The cleaners were wrapping up their shifts. One of them pushed a mop bucket slowly across the floor, humming quietly to himself. A security guard at the far end leaned against a wall, scrolling on his phone. Even they seemed tired, half asleep, barely aware of their surroundings. That's how quiet the mall was. As I walked toward the escalator leading to the exit, I saw someone standing by a closed kiosk. At first, I thought he was just another late customer waiting for someone. A man in his late 20s, maybe early 30s. He wore a dark hoodie pulled low and a face mask covering most of his face. There was nothing obviously strange about him at first glance, but something felt off. You know that instinct that crawls up your spine when something isn't right? I felt that immediately. He didn't stand like a normal person. His posture was stiff, almost mannequin-like. His hands were too still. He wasn't looking at anything, just standing there, facing the empty corridor. I slowed down without meaning to. Something inside me, the polite part of me, the part raised to greet strangers, made me speak. "Good evening," I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. "How are you?" The man turned toward me. But the way he turned wasn't normal. His head didn't move naturally. It rotated too slowly, like the movement had to be controlled manually, like his neck wasn't built for turning. And when his face finally pointed toward me, the lights overhead revealed something worse. His eyes. They were too wide. Not scared wide, but empty wide, like two pale, glowing circles that didn't reflect light correctly. And he didn't blink, not once. "I'm fine," he said, but the voice, it wasn't right. It came out with a strange distortion, as if two voices were layered together, one normal, one faint and echoing slightly behind it, like a delayed recording. The hairs on my arms stood up. I nodded awkwardly and stepped past him, trying to convince myself I was overreacting. Maybe he was tired. Maybe he had contacts in. Maybe I was just paranoid after a long day. But then I noticed something else, something that made my breath hitch. His mask wasn't sitting flat on his face. It moved. Not from breathing, not like fabric shifting. It moved independently, as if something underneath it was pushing it outward, stretching it in small, unnatural pulses, almost like something inside was adjusting itself. My body froze mid-step. My heart pounded so hard that I could feel it in my throat. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my legs refused to move. Trying to sound casual, I said faintly, Are you okay?" He tilted his head. Slowly, too slowly, his skull rotated at an unnatural angle, bending further and further until it made a faint, sickening click. And then he smiled beneath the mask, an impossibly wide smile that stretched far beyond where human skin should allow. My mouth went dry. I took a step back. His eyes followed me instantly. No head movement, no neck twist, just his eyes snapping to my movement with inhuman precision. I swallowed hard and kept moving. Each step felt heavy, as if the air itself had thickened around me. Every light flickered as I passed beneath it, humming loudly in the silence. My breathing quickened. My palms were sweating so much that my bag strap slid slightly from my grip. Finally, I reached the mall's main entrance. The heavy glass doors reflected my pale, terrified face. When they slid open, the rush of cold night air hit me so suddenly it made my eyes water. I stumbled outside, my chest tight, trying to inhale as much fresh air as possible. I turned around. He wasn't there. The mall doorway was empty. The inside lights were still flickering faintly. The cleaners were gone. The guard was gone. The kiosk area was empty. Everything looked normal again. Too normal. It made me question what I had just seen. For a moment, I convinced myself that maybe the man had walked away. Maybe I was just imagining things. Maybe he was just a strange guy. But when I walked through the parking lot, the silence felt wrong. There were no cars moving, no wind, no distant voices, not even crickets. Just my footsteps and the faint echo behind them that didn't match my rhythm. I reached my car and fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking violently. I unlocked the door, threw myself inside, and slammed the locks shut. My breathing was rapid, shallow, like I couldn't pull enough air into my lungs. I checked the back seat. Empty. I checked the mirrors. Nothing. I started the car and sped off, my eyes flicking to the rearview mirror every few seconds. The entire drive home, I couldn't shake the feeling that he was still watching me, somewhere, somehow. Even when I reached my apartment building, I felt his presence lingering, not physically, but in the corners of my mind, like something had attached itself to my memory, something that shouldn't exist, something that wasn't human. I stayed awake the whole night, lights on, staring at my front door, half expecting it to slowly open on its own. I haven't gone back to that mall at night. I don't greet strangers at night anymore, because sometimes a simple hello isn't harmless. Sometimes it invites something into your life that wasn't supposed to notice you.
It had been a long, exhausting day. My car had a flat tire on the way home, leaving me no choice but to take the night bus. It was just past 11 p.m., and the streets were almost completely empty. The bus stop itself was dimly lit, a flickering streetlight casting long, wavering shadows on the wet pavement. A cold wind whipped past, carrying the faint smell of rain mixed with exhaust fumes. In the distance, the hum of a few cars on the main road was barely audible. Everything felt hollow, silent, as if the city had stopped breathing. When the bus finally arrived, I climbed aboard and stepped into the dim fluorescent light inside. The bus was mostly empty, just a few scattered passengers. In the back, a man slept with his head leaning against the window. A teenager sat nearby, glued to his phone, headphones on, completely oblivious to the world. Near the front, a security guard sat slouched, eyes half closed. I let out a quiet sigh and chose an empty row by the window, hoping the glass and distance would give me some sense of safety. As the bus pulled away, I felt the usual nervous tension when riding at night. The lights outside flickered past in streaks, and shadows from the street lamps danced across the seats. The creak of the bus and the low hum of the engine filled the space around me. I tried to relax, letting my mind wander to the warmth of home, imagining a shower and a hot cup of tea, anything to distract myself. A few minutes into the ride, a man got on. He looked normal enough at first glance, maybe in his early 30s, hoodie pulled low over his head, face mask covering his face. He scanned the bus slowly, deliberately, as though calculating every movement of the passengers, and then sat a few rows in front of me. At first, I tried to convince myself it didn't matter. Maybe he was just tired, like me, heading home after work. But something about the way he moved made my stomach twist. A subtle stiffness, the way his head rotated slightly too slowly when he looked my way. I could feel my heart beginning to race. Something inside me, the polite, cautious part of myself, made me speak. "Good evening. Long night?" He turned toward me. His eyes were unnerving, alert, focused, calm in a way that felt deliberate, too controlled. The faint shadow from the overhead light made his eyes glint unnaturally, and his smile, it didn't reach them. "Yeah, long night," he said softly. A shiver ran down my spine. I looked back out the window, hoping to focus on the blurred streetlights passing by, but I could feel his gaze locked on me. Every subtle movement I made, every shift in posture was being observed. My hands gripped my bag tighter, knuckles whitening, and I became painfully aware of every creak of the bus, every whisper of the tires on the asphalt. The bus stopped at the next station. A couple of passengers boarded and walked toward the back, talking quietly. Normally, this would have been comforting, some sign that I wasn't alone. But he didn't move. He leaned back slightly in his seat, still staring across the aisle, and the quiet presence of his attention pressed down on me like a physical weight. My heart pounded, adrenaline flooding my system. Every instinct screamed at me to get up, move, do something, but my legs refused to obey. Then he spoke again, softly, almost too calm. "You live alone, don't you?" My stomach lurched. I forced myself to answer, though my voice shook slightly. Yeah. How did you know?" He didn't answer, just tilted his head slightly, pausing deliberately, a subtle movement that made the hair on the back of my neck rise. It's the kind of pause that stretches forever in your mind, where your imagination fills in every horrifying possibility. I tried to distract myself, staring out the window at empty streets streaked with neon from the few open signs on distant shops. But every reflective surface, windows, metal poles, shiny tile patterns in the bus floor seemed to echo his presence. I could feel him moving subtly as the bus took turns, inching closer without ever standing up. My mind raced. If he wanted to attack, he could. There's no one here to help me. I can't get off until my stop. Each stop felt like an eternity. A few people got on and off, but he remained calm, silent, watching. Occasionally, he would glance toward the front, then back at me, always keeping his distance. But somehow it made me feel trapped, like the bus itself had turned into a cage. I tried to focus on the other passengers, hoping they would give me comfort, but everyone else was oblivious. The teenager's headphones blocked out everything, the man in the back was asleep, Even the security guard had his eyes closed. I was alone with him. Finally, my stop approached. My hands trembled as I gripped my bag. I stood up slowly, trying not to make any sudden movement. The bus groaned as it slowed to a halt, and I could hear my heartbeat thudding in my ears. Step by step, I made my way to the exit doors, careful not to turn my back fully. He stayed in his seat, eyes locked on me the whole time. I could feel that cold, unnatural calm radiating from him. I opened the doors, the cold night air hitting me like a wall. My legs moved faster now, almost breaking into a run, but I forced myself to maintain control. The bus doors closed behind me with a soft metallic thud. The streets were empty. Too empty. Every shadow seemed to twitch. Every faint sound made me jump. I didn't dare look back, but I couldn't stop my glances. My apartment building seemed miles away, and each step felt heavier than the last. When I finally reached my building, my hands were shaking so badly that I could barely press the elevator button. Once inside, I paused, looking around, half expecting to see him standing there, waiting. My heart was still racing, and sweat coated my palms. I don't know how he left the bus, or if he ever intended to follow me home. But I will never take the night bus again. And I will never greet a stranger at night, because sometimes a polite hello draws attention you can't escape.